Good afternoon, Chairman, Board. I'm John Hakel, Vice President of Government Relations for the AGC of California. I'm really here just to speak for a few moments on the off-road diesel regulation. Our company, or pardon me, our association, our National Association, AGC of America, put together a study that you all have. We made sure each and every one of you had it. We've already shared this with Eric and his staff. I think what you ought to do is take some time. It's about 63 pages, but it's striking what we were able to do, given the doors data that Eric gave us. We ran our own modeling using the same matrix that Eric was using, and I think you ought to look at that. There is tremendous downturn in where I think Eric and the staff thought we were going to be, but because of the economy and because of the proactive contractors who have cleaned up their fleets, a lot of the target dates not only have been met, they've been blown by. I ask this, that you look at this and take really a seriously hard look at this data. But we're also asking if it's possible in the January meeting to maybe have an ongoing, open, transparent meeting with this data. Walk through it for you so you can see what we were able to find using the CARB doors data. I think it's an eye-opener, and I believe that the opportunity to sit down with the staff again to go back and look at these numbers will greatly show that we need to get the foot off of the throat. The numbers have already been met and will be met for tens of years, and we want to sit down with the staff again, reopen, and see where we can go with the data.
Okay,
right?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, I think you can do that.
Okay.
The door is open. I don't think you have to do it at a board meeting that's noticed and agendized where you sit around with the entire board sitting there. I think you need to present your report and go through it with staff. But as far as I know, they've never refused to look at a study, and if you want to have it open to the world, have it open to the world.
Madam Chair, if I might, in talking to the staff during the time that they were briefing me, I think we have an opportunity later when we come back to talk about some of these construction, numbers. And it might not be January that we do it, but it seems to me that and I know this is a long way away for John to think about, but clearly in July we are scheduled for some sort of review. Prior to that time, we need to have those meetings that really flush out the information. Now, it may be that staff can come back earlier than July, but we've got that target date of July to work on this, and so
that's all I was trying to imply. We have time between now and July.
Yeah,
that's a better way to phrase it.
Ron,
I apologize.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm here on behalf of the Northern California Port and Rail Truckers Association. We have recently established our association to speak on for the issues of the port drivers down in the Port of Oakland. We've also joined together with the National Port Drivers Association down in Long Beach, and I think to bring a little perspective from the port drivers, we have about 500 members that we just enrolled in the last 3.5 weeks. This morning, a caravan of about 300 trucks came from the Bay Area, Oakland. We were all in here, so we didn't see it, but you probably see it on TV. And they came here to Sacramento and to voice our opposition to the rule. We've heard ad nauseum a lot of statements from a lot of different companies, a lot of truckers about the financial impact. You guys have no concept of exactly what's going to happen if you start taking trucks out of circulation in the port area. I remember at a Port of Oakland meeting, there was a statement made that the 800 trucks that received the grant money in the retrofits could service the whole port. That's laughable. That would be a neat trick. Now you have the Port of Long Beach and the drivers down south facing the same problem. Now let's not talk about the truckers who transport the stuff on the road. A lot of their stuff comes from the port. And so if you congest that to where these goods can't move, of course those drivers are going to be out of work too. It's just not feasible. And I think it was a rush to implement something to quiet the people who were making noise about the environment. I want to remind everybody in this room about one stellar success that the California government put into play. 4 words, four letters, MTBE. They imposed this regulation, made people dig up their storage tanks to put in this MTBE, and the tanks leaked into the groundwater. I could go on. But on another personal note, I'm sick of hearing about the statistics of asthma and this, that, and the other. I care about the environment just like everybody else. I'm an advocate. I'm 39 years old. I've had asthma for 39 years. When I came to visit my grandmother who lived in West Oakland, she was afraid to keep me because my asthma attacks were so bad. Had nothing to do with the outside. We lived underneath the Cypress Freeway. Trucks were going by all the time. She had roaches in her apartment, lots of them. When I was older, I moved to an apartment in Richmond. It had roaches and a mildew problem. That kept me sick. I've been a driver at the Port of Oakland since 2004. Have not had one asthma attack since then.
Okay,
something to think about.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Board Member. And my name is Matthew Schrappe. I'm the Director of Environmental Affairs with the California Trucking Association. I'm also the co-chair of the Track Outreach Subcommittee. Before me today, you have heard from dozens of my friends and colleagues in our industry. These stories are not scripted, nor are they cherry-picked anecdotes. For every testimony you have heard today from our industry, I can give you 10 other companies in the same fiscal crisis, resulting in thousands of lost jobs across the state. We are here today, as you have acknowledged, in the midst of the worst economy since the 1930s. Unemployment is at least 12%, and in our industry, overall activity in VMT is down significantly. Our equipment is worth pennies on the dollar, and complicating the matter, our rates are being cut down faster than a Christmas tree farm after Thanksgiving. People are reeling in this economy, and while job loss is a byproduct of any recession, the compounding effects of this and several other ARB regulations are forcing companies to make hard decisions, not related to equipment purchases, but to staffing levels and total overall employment. Losing your job, as Dr. Tellis pointed out almost 1 year ago, is the worst thing that can happen to your health. This fact has been ignored by staff. Furthermore, despite their hard work, staff's rosy estimates for our economic recovery are, for lack of a better term, balderdash. Now, although emissions are lower than previously estimated, the likelihood that the recessionary emissions reductions assumed in this report are even greater. No one disputes that emissions are down because of this economy. The question is how much. At issue here also is the potential emissions in the methodology calculations that will never see the light of day, simply due to the fact that stakeholders have had no access to the methods used to determine the inventory impacts. Despite staff claims that this info would be available to us prior to the board hearing, it is not. Now, outside of these data sharing issues, an imperative that all findings associated with this regulation are reviewed and re-workshopped before initial requirements are slated to go into effect. This includes the economic impact analysis contained in the ISOR, which by staff's own admission was done in a different economy, as well as an additional economic impact study for all facets of the regulation, including exemptions and other provisions, a study of any technological limitations for retrofit, additional incentives for early compliance, and last but not least, addressing the potential emissions reductions associated with the economic downturn. To truly understand how the emissions reductions are impacting our ability to meet the SIP requirements for 2014, a serious, peer-reviewed study should be embarked upon to ensure that this is a sustainable and legitimate rulemaking that achieves its intended outcome without crippling an integral part of the California economy. Today, staff has presented a complicated overview of their findings. However, nowhere do we see a staff acknowledgement of how this economy is impacting our ability to manage assets for compliance. Incentive funding is few and far between and full of unintended consequences, as you had heard. Companies are struggling to survive. Thousands of jobs have disappeared in our industry over the last year alone. If these rulemakings are truly about protecting public health, staff needs to be directed to include health impacts related to job loss and any other standards related to this rule. Our industry and our families deserve it. To lay these requirements per Assemblyman Neal's request, you owe it to us, you owe it to the state of California.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Okay, you're done. Thank you. Hands wave. Hands wave.